Camp Recovery military post that was here from established in 1820. It was the hospital of Fort Scott. Fort Scott is on their side of the trees, is now in the middle of Lake Seminole. There's a historical marker for Fort Scott at Wingate Marina. Historical marker for Camp Recovery. It was the hospital for Fort Scott. We're about 3.5 miles from Fort Scott. We're about 8 miles from that historical marker at Foultown. Camp Recovery was actually established by Thomas Lawson, who later became the Surgeon General. He didn't get along with Colonel Arbuckle, who was commander at Fort Scott. They butted heads. In fact, they were in a court-martial. They sued and countersued each other. Lawson accused Arbuckle of encouraging prostitution at the post, which Arbuckle denied, and he had Lawson thrown in the brig, and Lawson said, that was a bad thing to do, is to throw your surgeon in the brig during time when he needs to take care of his soldiers. They were just two real strong personalities butting heads there. That's pretty much what it was. And they went out west eventually. There's a Camp Lawson or Fort Lawson also in the Florida Panhandle here. Colonel Arbuckle went west and was commander at the post at Fort Gibson for a couple decades, or Fort Smith, Arkansas as well. And he was the longest serving officer of any regiment in the U.S. Army. Kept the peace between the various Indian tribes out in Indian Territory. Both of them, started, I guess, their career here as part of the removal of the Seminoles. Anyway, Camp Recovery had a short time here until the post was abandoned in 1821. I guess about October 1821 was Fort Scott was abandoned. If you can see, I'm not sure if you can see out there, there's a little hut. I'm not going to go out there because this is private property. That's where the cemetery is. There's a 24-pound cannon marking the spot. There's about 40 or so unmarked graves there. We took a tour last year with some of us with permission from the property owners. And we'll be camping there for a reenactment for the 200th anniversary of the Scott Massacre and establishment of Fort Scott. And so I just wanted to come out here and, look at the property. And this is where we'll be camping next week for our anniversary encampment. Wanted to show some of the reenactors who will be checking out my Facebook page and seeing what it looks like. It's a very beautiful spot. Just gorgeous out here. So as you can see, we have no snow here in southwest Georgia. The temperature right now is in the 60s, upper 60s, so it's very warm. And so come here, enjoy it as we enjoy the sunset here and on Camp Recovery.